Boris Johnson's Partygate testimony to a committee of MPs was embarrassing, but there was another event today which even more clearly showed his career is over. It concerned the Windsor Framework. That's the deal about trade between Britain and Northern Ireland, which Rishi Sunak agreed last month with the EU, and which was today voted on in Parliament. The vote was viewed as a test of Sunak's authority, as his two predecessors were leading a rebellion. Liz Truss and Boris Johnson were against it. They wanted to vote against the Windsor Framework. This is Boris Johnson's explanation of why he made that decision. The proposed arrangements would mean either that Northern Ireland remained captured by the EU legal order and was increasingly divergent from the rest of the UK, or they would mean that the whole of the UK was unable properly to diverge and take advantage of Brexit. This is not acceptable. I will be voting against the proposed arrangements today. So that's someone who we think of. Boris Johnson still has a big following in the Tory party, even if much of the public have fallen out of love with the guy. He's standing up saying, I'm against this bill. One might think that's significant and puts Sunak under severe pressure. That opposition, though, to the deal from Boris Johnson led Northern Ireland Minister Steve Baker to make these comments to ITV.
So really, both of them should be backing the Windsor Framework today. And what I would say is they're both better than this. We've reached this point thanks to Liz Truss setting the process in train. And today's measures are better, of course, than the protocol that Boris Johnson put in place. A protocol which he spoke about, and those things he said turned out not to be accurate. So, he's got a choice. He can be remembered for the great acts of statecraft that he achieved, or he can risk looking like a pound-shop Nigel Farage. And I hope he chooses to be remembered as a statesman.
That's pretty cutting, especially from someone who was a bit of a Brexit headbanger. Right now he's saying that Boris Johnson has chosen to be a pound shop Farage. Jacob Rees-Mogg is on Boris Johnson's side. This is how he responded.
Steve Baker, former ERG chair, has now obviously Northern Ireland minister, has basically compared Boris Johnson to a pound shop Nigel Farage by opposing the Windsor Framework. Are you a pound shop Nigel Farage?
Oh, I would take that as a great compliment. I would like to be the Woolworths of Nigel Farage's.
Woolworths, of course, went bust 14 years ago, so potentially actually a better analogy than Jacob Rees-Mogg realised. In any case, as you can see, this became a bit of a war of words, pitching Johnson and his allies against Team Sunak. And for Boris Johnson, it ended in overwhelming defeat. The Northern Ireland deal passed by 515 votes to 29, and a rebellion led by Johnson and Liz Truss could muster the support of only 22 out of 355 Tory MPs. So a pretty pathetic rebellion, all things considered. Maurice, we talked about the Partygate investigation and whatever. I think that's how the public fell out of love with Boris Johnson, or for those people who like the guy. Obviously, always been a divisive figure. This, to me, seems like the real evidence that his political career in Westminster's over. If Boris Johnson, the big figure of the Conservative Party, lots of party members apparently, think this guy was stabbed in the back. They want him to have a comeback. If he can only muster a rebellion of 22 people, including himself, to like a big bill that was supposed to be the big rallying cry of the right of the party, I mean, is it over for him?
I think you're right. I think the whole Partygate thing, he'll bumble away through that and whatever. But this, to be sort of irrelevant, just to be a rump of 22 MPs that because of how Sunak has moved the party to be, I guess, a little bit closer to Starmer's party, there's no relevance to them. They're not important anymore. I was fearful of Johnson somehow blustering his way back to being in charge if Sunak failed in some way. I can't see that now. He's looking more and more pointless.
More and more pointless. That's what I like to hear. We've got agreement. Boris Johnson is over. You can clip that and share it on Twitter if it turns out that he becomes leader of the Tory party again. I hope I am not proven wrong on this one.